पारस जो छू ले वो हो जाए सोना।
प्रभु के नाम का
पारस जो छू ले वो हो जाए सोना। प्रभु के नाम का पारस जो छू ले वो हो जाए सोना।
प्रभु के नाम का
पारस जो छू ले वो हो जाए सोना। दो अक्षर का नाम हरि है लेकिन बड़ा सलोना। दो अक्षर का नाम हरि है लेकिन बड़ा सलोना। दो अक्षर का नाम हरि है लेकिन बड़ा सलोना। दो अक्षर का नाम हरि है लेकिन बड़ा सलोना। तूने लाखों की नैया तारी तारी हरि हरि। जय जय नारायण नारायण हरि हरि।
जय जय नारायण नारायण हरि हरि।
जय जय नारायण नारायण हरि हरि।
बद्री नारायण नारायण हरि हरि।
लक्ष्मी नारायण नारायण हरि हरि।
बोलो नारायण नारायण हरि हरि।
तेरी लीला प्रभु है न्यारी न्यारी हरि हरि। तेरी महिमा प्रभु है न्यारी न्यारी हरि हरि। जय जय नारायण नारायण हरि हरि। जय जय नारायण जय जय नारायण नारायण हरि हरि। बद्री नारायण नारायण हरि हरि। बोलो नारायण नारायण हरि हरि।
Welcome to Satsang. I'm wondering is from our questions that come to us in advance that we always start with. I'm wondering if it's truly possible to achieve moksha when you are living a normal life with everything that goes with it. So we almost always begin satsang with one of the questions that come in advance, either by people here who feel shy to raise their hands, or by our online community, or so many different ways, by email, before we open it up to those of you who are here, which we'll do right after. What's so beautiful about the scriptures and the teachings is they are for normal life. If you study, if you deeply study all of the scriptures, or even if not all of them, if you just study the epics, the stories, if you look at the teachings like that, what you'll see is it's all normal people. Yes, sure, every once in a while there's a rishi or a sage, and Nadaji comes and we get some beautiful teaching from him, but typically the characters in the different stories that we're given are people at various stages of their lives, engaged in different problems, different challenges, different situations. And then the divine, whether in form in our epics, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, or in so many other different forms or ways of speaking, in the Upanishads, or whether simply channeled through Vyasji, however we're getting the word of the divine, it's being given to people in challenging stages of their lives. People of different levels, people of different castes, people of different family situation. But one thing is the same about all of them. They're all ordinary people. The teachings that are given down are not given to those who are sitting in caves on mountaintops. Sure, sometimes the rishis and the sages are the ones from the mountaintops giving the teachings. But all of that which we learn in our scriptures are actually given to us about normal life. Characters have jobs, or if not jobs, they have roles in society. In almost all the cases, they have families. In all of the cases of families, there's struggle, there's jealousy, there's competition, there's judgment, there's all sorts of stuff. And the reason that they're given to us like that is so that we can never doubt that they apply to us. If you had scriptures that were God speaking only to the purest of the pure, or the most disciplined of the disciplined, or those who have renounced everything and committed themselves to only a life dedicated to God, well, it would be an extraordinary scripture, an extraordinary teaching, but it would leave out such a large percentage of the population as to render it much more of an esoteric teaching than a scripture for the masses. And when we speak about our Dharma as being Sanatan, so the word Hindu, I won't go into too much about this, but it's beautiful to share for just a moment. The word Hindu is not actually a word that was created by the Hindus, or that the Hindus started self-identifying as this religion called Hinduism. It was actually a word given to them by people who had come from the outside, who couldn't properly pronounce the S of Sindhu, of the river that they lived along. And so called the people who lived along the banks of the Sindhu River the Hindus. What the Hindus call themselves, and what they call their tradition, is Sanatan Dharma, which literally means an eternal way of life. And I mentioned that right here with this question because if the teachings on moksha, or the teachings on anything, but this question specifically asked about teachings of moksha for those of us living normal lives, well, if a teaching is only applicable to a certain intersection of time and space, then you can't call it eternal. If it only applies to monks living in an ashram or a monastery high up on the top of the Himalayas, completely cut off from the world, well, you wouldn't call it Sanatan. It might be beautiful, but it wouldn't be eternal, because eternal implies not only a continuum of time, but also inherent in the idea of eternal is universal. If something is really eternal, if it really has no beginning, no end, it's all encompassing. It's infinite. And if something is infinite, then it has to be applicable to everyone. And so when you have teachings that come out of a tradition that calls itself an eternal way of life, then by definition, those teachings are going to be for everyone. Now, when you talk about moksha and our normal life, it's important to ask ourselves, what does normal mean? What do we mean by normal? If we say, is moksha really possible for those living a normal life? What do we mean by normal? What is normal life? Throw it out. Give me some words. What does normal life include?
Normal is taking good education,
Okay,
having a good job,
good.
getting married, having kids, having your own house, your own vehicle, and meeting the norms of the society.
Great. Okay. So a good education, a good job, a good family, your own car or vehicle of some kind. Abiding by the norms of society. Does anyone have any other thoughts? What else does normal imply?
Life without depending on others.
Okay. I'm not sure if that's normal. It's certainly ideal. It would be great if we didn't have to depend on others. But when we talk about normal life, yes, if you think about a mature adult, yes, thou shalt not depend on others. Sure.
How about routine?
Routine, yes, of course. So I ask what normal means because he's just given us a very specific definition. Is that what normal, would most people agree that that's normal life? All right, a lot of you are shaking your heads no. So what's normal to you?
Depends on what country, what situation you're in, how you're brought up. So that's normal to that society. So
Okay.
you know.
So you walked in after the question, so I'm just going to give you the question again. The question says, I'm wondering if it's truly possible to achieve moksha when you are living a normal life with everything that goes with it. So we're beginning by And usually I don't throw the questions back, but it's important because before we answer it, we have to understand what we mean by normal. So yes, of course, there's lots of cultural differences, lots of socioeconomic differences, but I think that his definition sums up typically what most of us think of as normal life. May not be the best education, but it's going to be some education, some job, some making money, right? Any other pieces before we go deeper with it? What else counts as normal? Yeah. Healthy life, great, okay.
All the basic needs fulfilled.
Basic needs fulfilled, wonderful. But in order to get our basic needs fulfilled, we've got to work for them, right? We have to do something to get them fulfilled. So here's what's interesting. We've just had lots of people throw out lots of things. What is it that is the thread that runs through all of these things? Education, job, money, needs, cultural variances, cars, houses. What runs through all that?
Happiness. Necessity.
They're all, yeah, we'll come to happiness and desire in a moment. They're all external things, right? Everything that everybody has said just before we hit happiness are all things I'm going to have on the outside. And what's interesting is when the questioner says, can you have moksha in the midst of a normal life? Well, is there any reason why a house should somehow keep you from having enlightenment? If you go back to the scriptures, let's go back to the scriptures for a moment. Even at that time, in all of our scriptures, there were homes. In many cases, there were palaces. There were vehicles, maybe not Mercedes and BMWs or fancy sports cars, maybe not even auto rickshaws. But there were vehicles of some sort, whether they were horse-driven, vehicles of some sort, homes of some sort, education of some sort. All of those things existed. And yet, in the midst of all of that, even in the midst of war, both of the epics take place with a massive war. The War of Lanka, the War of the Mahabharata, Kurukshetra. But the teaching of moksha is given to us in them. And yet, the question is so common. How can we experience moksha? Spiritual enlightenment. Awakening. In the midst of normal life. So it's not the houses or the education or the jobs or the relationships or any of that that pulls us away from it. Because if it were, then these teachings wouldn't have been given to us through the different characters in the scriptures, in their homes, in their educations, in their families, with their vehicles, with their roles in society. In fact, in the Gita, Arjuna says to Krishna, I'm going to go off and meditate. Forget this war. I'm going to live in a cave. I'm going to become a sadhu. Forget the war. Forget the kingdom. I don't need anything. And Lord Krishna says, not so fast. No, you're not. In the midst of a teaching on moksha, the very specific instruction given is, no, you are not running off to the forest. No, you are not running off to a cave. You're going to stand right here. And then he proceeds to give him this extraordinary teaching on moksha. Meaning, moksha is right here in your chariot, bow and arrow in hand, in the midst of engaging in your Dharma. So therefore, what is it that keeps us from living, from experiencing moksha in the normal world? Who said desire? So it's not the house itself. It's not the money itself. It's not the car itself. That which keeps us from moksha in our normal world is the desire that never lets go. I have a house, but I want a bigger house. I have a car, but I want another car. I have a spouse, but I want a different spouse. I had a... Right? We hear this a lot. So, whatever it is that I have, I want more. Or even if I'm not yet at the point of wanting a different spouse, I want my current spouse to be different. Yes, I love them, but if you could just wave your magic wand and make him do this or make her be like that. So either I want a different spouse or I want my spouse to be different. Bigger home, nicer home, closer to work, closer to the city, farther from the city. Different car, different job. More, better, nicer. This is what keeps us from moksha. And here's why. Desire at its core has one truth, which is the present moment is lacking. If I want something different, it means there is something in this moment that is not enough. And that sense of not enoughness, I'm not enough, my surroundings aren't enough, the people I'm stuck with aren't enough, what I have isn't enough, what I can do isn't enough. That sense of not enoughness roots us in the number one ignorance, which pulls us away from the truth of moksha, which is freedom. Moksha is liberation. So if I'm stuck in this moment, how can I be free? Moksha is freedom. That's the translation, the definition. If I am so stuck with what is wrong with this moment, how can I possibly be free? If in my mind the answer to my anxiety, my depression, my frustration, my yearning is something external to me to be different. The job, the money, the relationships, that's pulling me external. I'm going to fix these things, need to fix these things are wrong. Which has just ensured I can't possibly be free. Because I first need something in the external world to change before I can even be happy, let alone freedom. You said happiness back there. Yeah, of course, but when are we ever happy? Because the minute we get what we want, suddenly we want something more. You wanted a car, great, you got a car, now you're super happy for a little while until you see that this guy's got a better car. And we're such slaves of our desires that we literally don't even see a world possible without them. One of my favorite stories is of a beautiful, beautiful teacher who was telling the story of a friend of his who every day took the subway to work, and where he got off the subway to walk to his work, his subway stop, there was this pastry shop right at the subway, right on the street. And every day he would go in and buy a bag of pastries. But he was on a diet. And so he was complaining to my friend, the teacher, that he didn't know how to, stay on his diet because, oh my God, this pastry store, And every time he thought of them, he just had to have a pastry and desire, 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 have to have it, have to have it. And so every morning he would pledge to stay on his diet, and barely an hour later he would find himself with what was now an empty bag of pastries because he had eaten them all on his way to work. And so my friend, this beautiful teacher, says to him, well, have you thought about leaving your wallet at home? And his friend says, what? You want me to steal them? So I love that, because the idea that I might somehow actually not get the pastries is not an option. Have to have the pastries. Slave of the desire. Desire is my master. Have to have the pastries. And oh my God, if I leave my wallet at home, what does it mean? My only option is to steal them. So now, if I live in a world where I am the slave of desire, how can I possibly be free? How can you possibly have freedom, the ultimate freedom, liberation, if we are a slave to anything? So that is what keeps us from having moksha. It's not about what you have. It's about how you think about what you have. If what I have, who I am, the situation I'm in, is enough, that's abundance. When we talk about prosperity and we pray to Mahalakshmi for prosperity, it's not, oh, fill my bank account, burst my piggy bank. It's give me that awareness of an abundance that is in the nature already of who I am. That nature of consciousness, that nature of spirit, that nature of awareness, love, truth. All of these different ways of describing the truth of who we are, that infinite divinity of who we are. That's not just abundant, it's literally infinite. It is the cup that runneth over. It is that which with which is being run over. It's everything. So if I'm everything, how can I be lacking? And in that awareness, moksha is possible. As long as I'm trying to change something in the outer world, as long as I'm in the death grip of desire, of dissatisfaction, of jealousy, of competition, of negativity, of temptation, of my past, of all of these things, I'll never have it. But that has nothing to do with whether I'm living in a cave or I'm living in Manhattan. It has everything to do with what goes on in my own mind. And so regardless of where you are in life, even in the midst of your normal life, allow yourself to realize the truth of who you are. Whether it's you playing the drama of a mailman, or you playing the drama of a CEO, or you playing the drama of a wife or a husband or a teacher or a president or someone who's unemployed. Whatever drama you're playing on that stage of normal life, it doesn't matter. At the end of a Broadway drama, a professional drama, everybody goes backstage and throws off their costumes. The villain, the hero, the extras, the leads, the orchestra, everybody. It's not that only the one who got to play the sage goes backstage and takes off his costume. Everybody does. The villain realizes he's only playing the role. The hero realizes she's only playing the role. The extra realizes he's only playing the role. And the same thing in our lives, regardless of whether you're playing the role here on the career ladder or here on the career ladder. It doesn't matter. We're all engaged in drama on the same stage. And every one of us has to realize that we're just playing a different role. But can you remember who's the one beneath the costume? Who's the one beneath the mask? Can you make some time every day to take off that costume? To take off that mask and to connect with who you really are. And if you can do that, then you'll, regardless of what your role in society may be, you'll be able to attain moksha. And if you can't, then whether you're in a cave, whether you're on a mountaintop, or whether you're pumping gas in a gas station on a busy intersection of a busy city somewhere in the world, either way you won't be able to. So go within and really ask yourself, who is it? Who is it beneath the role? Who is it beneath the costume? And then you get to go another step deeper, because there's inner costumes as well, inner masks as well, inner roles as well. The actor only has one. One guy, one costume. One lady, one costume. But we've actually got a lot of different layers. We have our outer role. This is my role in the office place or my role in the family. But then you go a step deeper and you realize you've got an inner role as well, a whole inner drama. I'll never really succeed. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I'm not smart enough. I'm too old. I'm too ugly. I'm too stupid. I talk too much. I laugh too loudly. I love too much. I don't love well enough at all. I'm fat. I'm skinny. I'm too dark. I'm too pale. I made a mess of my life. All of these different stories we tell ourselves. And of course it goes the other way as well. It's negative and positive both. I'm the smartest, I'm the best. They should make me president. That guy doesn't know what he's doing. I'm so much smarter than he is. Just a different inner drama. But allow yourself to really go in. First figure out what's the outer drama. And then drop in and figure out what's the inner drama. And just keep asking yourself with every layer, how can I let go of the drama? How can I let go of the drama? How can I let go of the drama? And keep going deeper and deeper until you hit a place that's beyond masks, beyond drama, beyond costumes, that's just consciousness, that's just awareness, that's just love and truth and spaciousness. But as long as we keep identifying with that outer world, regardless of what our role is, we won't find it. We won't find that moksha. So before taking any of the other questions that came in advance, if there are any questions that anyone here has, I'm happy to take them, yes.
In the spiritual view,
nature of us are pure souls.
Yes.
My question is, so does a specific soulmate exist for everyone?
Does a specific soulmate exist for everyone? Yes, it's you. You are your soulmate. Your soul has chosen your very body, has chosen your very life to come into this world in. We were speaking last night about bodies and souls, and I was saying how it's not like a hotel where the hotels are there standing, whether they're empty or full, and maybe a car drives by and somebody stays, maybe it doesn't. It's not like that. There aren't bodies roaming around without souls. It's not that the universe just keeps producing bodies. The bodies come in the situations that the bodies come in because there is a soul that needs to incarnate in exactly that type of situation, that type of body, that type of family. And so your body has been created with your mother, with your father, with your family, with your childhood, with your education, with your experience, because that's exactly what your soul needs for its life. So you are your soulmate. Your soul has chosen you. Your body, your life, your heart, your mind, your brain to come into this world in. And to spend decades and decades and decades and decades inside you. Using what you identify as you, your body, your brain, your emotions, your feelings, your thoughts, to use that as its vehicle for enlightenment. You are what you need. Yeah, relationships are beautiful. Love, I always say, is the core of who we are. And whether we've chosen a life of renunciation and celibacy, or whether we've chosen a life of being a householder and being married and having a family, either way, love is the core of who we are. Those of us who have chosen lives of renunciation and celibacy, it's love of God, love of the universe, love of everyone. It's non-romantic, non-sensual, non-sexual love. But if you think that love is only sensual and sexual, you haven't experienced love. You've only experienced lust. Love is of the soul. And so regardless of what path you're on, regardless of whether you have a romantic partner, you don't have a romantic partner, doesn't matter in that way. Love, the nature of who you are, wants to express itself. It wants to love. Love wants to love. It's like the nature of water is to flow. You dam up water, the pressure is going to build and build and build and build and eventually break the dam. The Dharma of water is to flow. The Dharma of love is to love. That's what it does. And so to love people is beautiful. For some people it may be a romantic love, it may be a part of a romantic relationship, wonderful. Some cases it may not be part of a romantic relationship, also wonderful. But when you speak about a soulmate in terms of a romantic partnership, a husband, a wife, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, however it may work, When you think about it like that, the problem is that it usually implies that I need that person in order to be full. That without that person, I'm only half. Looking for my soulmate, I'm miserable, I'm depressed, I'm empty, haven't found my soulmate. As though somehow, if I find the right person, then I will be full. But that's a myth. You're already full. Your soul is not half or 2/3 or 3/4 or 5/6 or 9/10. It's 100%. It doesn't need another soul in another body in order for it to be full. Yes, loving and connecting from our soul to the soul of another being is extraordinary. Start doing that. Do that with your friends. Do that with your family members. It doesn't necessarily require that physical, sensual, sexual relationship. If it happens to be in a marriage, wonderful, fine. But if not, don't worry. What the soul needs is that experience of expansion, because the nature of the soul is infinite. The nature of the soul is expansive, and that's why loving feels so good, because when we love, we go back to that nature of expansion, connection. But it feels so good because it's the nature of who you are. You don't need another person to make you feel that. Try to just love as much as you can. Love the trees, love the birds, love the sunset, love the children, love friends. Love as much as you possibly can. And if you find someday a wonderful man or a wonderful woman, either way, who feels like the right partner for you, wonderful. But don't think that you need to wait for that person as though somehow half of your soul is out there floating around the universe in a different body waiting to find you, and then your soul is going to be one. In a spiritual relationship, 1 + 1 = 1, not half plus half. We don't go into relationships as half, we go in as one. But that one and that one come together as one, where the borders and the boundaries just dissolve and they merge together. But first you have to become that one, that fullness, that wholeness, that awareness of completion. Because if you're looking for someone else to fill you, it's never going to work for a long period of time. It may work temporarily, but then as that person changes, or as you change, or as situations and circumstances change, you'll no longer feel filled by that person, and then you will fall out of love. When we fall into love in that way, I have a need, you fulfill it. I have a hole, you fill it. It's temporary. When the fullness of who I am merges with the fullness of who you are, that's permanent. Okay? But always remember, you are your soulmate. Your soul did not make a mistake. It came very purposely, straight into your body with who you are, because that's exactly what it needed. Good. Yes.
seeking a moksha, is it not a desire? And because everyone is chasing that, and we are not end up doing what we should be doing, like performing karma. Is it not a desire?
Okay. So is chasing moksha not a desire, he said. And what if everybody goes around chasing moksha, then are we not doing what we're supposed to be doing, our duties? Well, that would only happen if you misread or misunderstood the teachings in the Gita and all of the other scriptures. Because they all make it very, very clear that the only way to moksha is through doing your duty. And so there's no way that you could read the Gita and say, I know, I'm going to forsake my duty, but run after moksha. The only way to the destination is through. There's no way around. You have to go through. You have to walk the path. You have to do your duty. You have to fulfill your dharma. It's not like playing hooky from school, that you take a day off and you don't go to school and you ditch your classes and you have fun, and that's not moksha. That's just a day that you end up having to make up later on your Sunday when you get, sent to detention to do the homework times 100. Moksha isn't in the avoidance of anything. If there's something I need to run from, if there's something I'm avoiding, including my duty, how am I free? If in order to experience moksha, I need to not do my job, well, then I'm not very free, am I? Because if you then pick me up by the seat of my pants and put me in my desk, it means I'm not free. It means sitting at that desk, I'm not able to experience freedom, which means I'm not free. It means my freedom, my moksha, is situation dependent. I'm free when I'm doing what I want to do. I'm free when I'm where I want to be, with whomever I want to be with. But if I'm doing my duty, I'm not free. Which means that's not moksha. That's not real moksha. Freedom is freedom. And so this is where Lord Krishna makes it so clear. In order to attain that moksha, you have to do your dharma. You have to do your duty. So taking the second part of your question first, if everybody started seeking moksha, it actually would be great, because then everyone would do their duties. People don't let go of their duties in the search of moksha. They let go of their duties as a slave to their laziness. Those are two very, very different things. If I'm going to not do my duty, and by the way, it's important to just clarify for a moment. When we talk about duties, I'm not talking about what our culture says, you better do this. I'm not talking about guilt trips and manipulation by various members of our society or our families who say, I need you to do this in order for me to feel happy, or I trekked through the snow up to my chest every day to, make some money so that you could become a doctor. You better become a doctor. I don't mean that. When we talk about duty, it's that which I am here to do. My dharma. My purpose. My individual duty. Not what my mom or dad says I have to do. Not what the culture says is the right thing for someone from my type of family to do. Not necessarily the thing that the neighbors are going to like the most, right? That's always the problem. What are the neighbors going to say? So Duty is not that. Duty is not necessarily something that is societally conditioned. But it's our duty. It's us as a tool in God's hands. If you imagine creation as a tapestry, as a gorgeous tapestry that God has created, each of us is a thread. And each thread is essential. Because while somebody without a very attuned eye might not notice the absence of one thread, if you look closely enough, you'll realize that the minute one thread comes out, suddenly the whole tapestry starts to unravel. And so when we speak about our duty, it's us as that tool, that instrument for what the divine is bringing into the universe through us. And a lot of times we may not even necessarily know what it is. It's not that we're going to somehow wake up necessarily one day and know exactly what that is. This is where we have gurus. It's where we have spiritual teachings. It's where we have mentors. It's where we have meditation. I mean, there's only two places to get the answer, either from someone outside or from somewhere inside. And so if you have a guru, if you have a mentor, if you have someone who can help you see, and if not, or even if so, we also go within. So whatever that duty is, my moksha is only possible through that. But then the first part of your question, which we'll take last, isn't search for moksha also a desire? Of course it is. Here's the thing. Desires themselves are not the enemy. The attachment to getting what I desire is the enemy. Desires are catalysts. I wake up in the morning, I have a desire no longer to feel the pressure on my bladder. I walk into the bathroom, I go to the bathroom. Simple call of nature. What pushes me to it? Desire. If I were totally indifferent to the pressure on my bladder, there'd be nothing to get me up out of bed. If I were totally indifferent to the idea of lying in a wet bed, there'd be also nothing to get me out of bed, right? The desire to keep my bed dry makes me stand up out of bed and walk and empty my bladder in the bathroom. The desire to have a clean body sends me into the shower. Or perhaps the desire not to repulse people by how my body smells. Either way, either for myself or for others. The desire to have food on the table in the fridge sends me to the office to make some money so that I can put food on the table. These are not bad things. The desire to serve someone I'm in a house with, a spouse, a child, a parent, gets me perhaps out of bed early to make them a cup of coffee in the morning or a cup of hot tea or to give them breakfast in bed or whatever it may be. So desire is just a catalyst. My desire for moksha, my desire for a deeper meaning in life gets me out of bed early to meditate. Desire for truth gets me out of bed early to meditate. The dilemma comes with the attachment to getting what I desire. So it's the, oh God, yet another day, no moksha. I can't believe this stupid meditation practice. That, stupid teacher or stupid guru or stupid place where I learned this. They promised it was going to give me moksha. Hasn't given me moksha. Forget the whole thing. I hate it. This is the downside of attachment to the fruits of my desire. Simply desiring moksha is wonderful because that becomes the catalyst that gets me out of bed, it gets me to meditate, it gets me to do my duty. The desire for moksha is actually going to free me from the desires of a lot of other things. So maybe I also happen to have a past sanskara of a desire for drugs or alcohol, or indiscriminate sex, or gambling, or whatever it may be. But now I have a desire for moksha. So that desire for moksha is going to override the desire for drugs, alcohol, indiscriminate sex, gambling, all those other things that I know are just going to pull me off my path. So the desire for moksha is great. It's clearing the way. You could say through the thorns to get me there. It is that light that's clearing my path. Don't want this, don't want this, don't want this. That's not on my path, not on my path. Keeping me with that single pointed vision. As long as I'm not so attached to the fruits of my work to produce it. Because in the Gita, along with emphasizing moksha, Lord Krishna, of course, reminds us never to be attached to the fruits. And so, yeah, I get up every day, I meditate. Yeah, I abstain from this, abstain from that, abstain from this, live a life of service, do this. But if I'm attached to those fruits, then you actually end up shooting yourself in the foot. Because with every thought that I have that says, oh, no moksha yet, I'm throwing myself back. I've just fallen right back into judgment, into negativity. But I've also pulled myself out of the present moment. And I've also done one other very deep thing, which is I have given myself a lie about the present moment. I have just told myself no moksha. Whereas the truth is, maybe if I didn't have that thought, there would be moksha. Maybe it is that thought that is keeping me from experiencing moksha. Maybe my anger and frustration at not yet attaining moksha is the only reason that I'm not experiencing moksha. So have the desire, absolutely. But offer it to God. Oh God, this is my desire. Please, if you deem me worthy, grant me moksha. I'm prepared to do my part. I will walk the steps. You've laid it out. I'll get up, I'll meditate, I'll pray, I'll do seva, I'll dedicate myself, I'll be honest, I won't hoard, I won't steal, right? I'll fulfill all of our teachings of Dharma. I'll let go of negativity and judgments and jealousies and lust and all these things. I'll free myself of all of that, not repress them, not deny them, not pretend I don't have them, but actually free myself of them. Rather than every day, all right, God, so when's it going to happen? All right, it's been 2 weeks now. No moksha? Come on, you got another 48 hours and I give up this whole meditation thing. So the desire and the surrender, they have to go together. There's a beautiful poem that I love. I don't know if I'm going to remember it exactly. It says, as children bring their broken toys with tears for us to mend, so I brought my broken dreams to God because I thought he was my friend. But then, instead of leaving him in peace to work alone, I hung around and tried to help with ways that were my own. At last, I snatched my dreams back and cried, God, how could you be so slow? What could I do, my child, he said. You never did let go. So that's the union. Desire for moksha? Yes, sure. And then surrender to God. Wonderful. Are you going to be with us tomorrow evening?
Yes.
Fantastic. So can we start with your question tomorrow? Wonderful. And from tomorrow, and we'll take yours second tomorrow. From tomorrow, we will most likely be in the SATSANG Bhavan in the center of the ashram, just next to the temple area. We'll have a bunch of beautiful yellow-clad Rishikumars to show you the way. But it's a bigger hall, and we're going to need the bigger space for the next few days. So same time, but just 100-foot difference in location. So there'll be people here tomorrow to direct you. It's just right in front of this reception area in the main temple area of the ashram. Wonderful. So have a beautiful, beautiful night, and we will start with your question and then your question tomorrow.